Hey guys, I wanted to do a brand new video on a very important topic, which is something I think every entrepreneur needs to be good at. Or, well, yeah, let's be honest, every entrepreneur. When I started with my entrepreneurial journey in 2004, I was networking. And it's a very simple truth. Your network is going to affect your net worth. It's what you do with that network and how you network. So this is what this whole video is about. Thank you for watching my channel. I know I've been making a lot of the recent videos a lot more personal, and it's really good because I feel like it's reflective of what's really going on behind the scenes. What you see me doing on social media is one thing, but let's be honest, I can put a lot more content and real thought into and give you my insights here on YouTube. So please follow me on social and here. You've got all the social media links around in my bio and my description below this video. In the meantime, when you are networking, and why would you network? Now, you can do this even if you're in a job. So, for example, those of you who don't know me, I started from the ground up. I didn't have anyone give me any money to start with. No parents had any money to give me to start my investment journey. A lot of people think that is the case, and that's why I have to reply with this. But ultimately, I started from going to university, being a medical professional, but then realized very quickly this is not my life. I don't quite enjoy this career, and I wanted to build money ASAP. And I started with property. With property, I started using my networking skills, which I didn't have developed. So I went to free property events. Now, how you network in a free event and how you network around billionaires is very different, as you can imagine, right? You're not going to get casual billionaires going to free events. So that is a very different skill. So if you're currently using a networking event sort of platform, or if you go to regular networking events, what I teach you in this video is still relevant to that, and it will make you better. So if you approach every networking event with the skill sets I'm going to teach you here, you will do so much better, and you'll be less of that cringy networking person that you see at free events, which is trying to be everybody's friend or trying to just, get around the room as fast as possible. It's very transactional, doesn't look genuine, and you just don't get any credibility. So, first thing first, point number one is energy levels. Yes, I'm going to discuss this because it really, really requires energy to network. A lot of people dismiss this or underestimate how much energy it takes to be a networking professional. So you don't have to be an extrovert fully. You don't have to be this amazing people person to, well, you need to like people to network, obviously, otherwise you won't go there. But you need to also realize that you don't have to be this person that speaks on stages and is like taking over the room. You can be a very powerful networking individual by just using the skill sets I teach you, right? So, number one, understand your energy levels. And what does that mean? If you haven't done this already, go and do a free personality test called the 16 personalities test. Um, so 16 personalities test. It's got nothing to do with me. I've given it to my students for many years to figure out for free, what is your personality type? What's your energy like, And the first part of the conclusion, when you do a 16 personality test, it will tell you whether you've got how your energy level is. Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? And what an introvert tends to thrive on is they get their energy from being alone or from within. So they have to spend a lot of time on their own. They are completely okay with doing that. Whereas an extrovert gets their energy from people, and they have to be in these events or have to be around people a lot. But you don't have to be either one of those. You just need to understand that if you are an introvert and you're going to go into if you are more than 50% introvert, let's say more than 60%, that makes it more significant. If your energy level is more than 60% introverted, then you are going to find networking very tiring. It will drain you. You will leave that place thinking like, oh my God. So what do you have to do? You literally need to make sure that before the networking event, let's imagine it's a 7 o'clock networking event. Your whole day, you need to restore your, don't put lots of meetings. Worst thing you could do if you're an introvert is go to lots of meetings beforehand, and then you get to the big networking event that you really want to make an impression on, billionaires or whatever, and you are absolutely zapped because you haven't had a time to recharge, right? Now, extroverts have no issue. So, you get your energy from people, so you might be buzzing, right? But I am actually 50-50. So I am very conscious of my energy levels. It's draining for me to go to networking events. Like I literally have to plan. If I've got a big, powerful billionaires event coming up, I make sure that my sleep is number one, like I get a lot of sleep. Then number two, I make sure that I eat well, obviously, like energy-based foods. And I don't fit in any big important meetings. I may have a friendly chat with people or whatever, or friends, but I certainly will not put in another important meeting before the big event that I want to go to because I want to conserve my energy for that. And if it's evening, I love my sleep. So if I don't get enough sleep, I'm going to be super tired. Energy matters for me. So I can't, like, I'm a 50-50, straight in the middle individual. I need my own time and I love people, but I can't do people all day, every day. I mean, that also explains why um, I I live in the city. I can't live in the city. I have to go into the London city and then I have to escape back to the country where I feel I can breathe and I can recharge and I feel like more connected in myself and my energy levels feel replenished. If you are someone who loves living in a city in the middle of a hustle and bustle and the energy levels are contagious, I can't take public transport because especially if you're going for a big meeting, like a proper important networking event or a billionaires event, do not take public transport. I know this sounds ridiculous. I mean, take public transport if you have to, but not the tube type ones where it is so busy that you're drained. Or if you have to take it, then you want to rock up a bit earlier so you get quiet time to kind of recharge because that energy is not good for anything. So obviously, if you're going to network with billionaires, there was no weird and wonderful public transport usually involved because by this point you're a high net worth individual, you're someone who's elevated anyway, and you kind of get chauffeured around. Like I have a driver that takes me to London and I'm very grateful for it. It's very intentional. It is because I want to stay in my peak state and I don't want to be around chatter and energy from people that are vibrating at a low energy on a public transport. So it sounds a bit crazy, but it's very intentional. But when you do that, you rock up on point, like you're on point, you're on your top of your element, peak performance is there when you're going into these events. So energy levels, number one, big tick. I hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions, of course, you have to come on to one of my sessions that I do networking events. Sorry, I do lots of coaching sessions on Zoom. And if you want to ask me any questions on this, then, you can join my Millionaire Mindset training, where I do my personal coaching, business coaching, and all of that peak performance stuff in those coaching programs. So ask my team about that too. Okay, number two is preparation of how you're going to get there. So it's kind of linked to the energy levels. Now, preparation is very key. For example, when you are going to a 9 o'clock in the morning event, for example, right? And you know your energy levels and you know you need sleep and you do the obvious thing, which is don't be tired when you get there. Stay the night before if you have to, or organize something like transport, but just be prepared to get there on time and have enough downtime to yourself to kind of gather your energy, right? So that was kind of why I've written notes down here, by the way, that's why I'm looking there. But energy levels and preparation are key on this. So number three is what do you wear? Now, when you are going into an event with super high net worth individuals, you need to look the part, i.e., you don't want to wear anything that comes across like you don't spend money on yourself, right? It really does matter that you invest in yourself, men and women included. We've got so many more options, and technically, I think women have spent arguably more, but mind you, a really good men's suit can be very, expensive. But men have to wear really, really polished. Like, imagine if you're a guy, you take your jacket off, they'll see the label. Let's not make it a Zara, right? This is if you are going to a billionaires event and you want to look the part, make sure your clothing looks expensive. You don't have to be a billionaire, but don't look cheap, is all I'm saying. Now, I love Zara, big caveat, like I do love Zara, but I would never wear it to an expensive event because it doesn't give me the right impression or doesn't give anyone the right impression about me. I don't want to look like I haven't invested in my personal appearance because trust me, it does matter. So always, like even in this YouTube video, notice I've got strong shoulders. Women always need to have strong shoulders. Use shoulder pads, like items with shoulder pads, which is why I use Balmain so much because they do really good, powerful dressing. Like their jackets have got really strong shoulders. So if you're going to wear a blazer, jacket, whatever, powerful shoulders. And this is not what I'd wear to a networking event, just to be clear. This is for a YouTube video, but I'm just saying, even then, I am still wearing powerful kind of shoulders. There's something on my shoulders that gives you the impression of military, like really sharp. Women as well, cleavage. It does matter. It looks cheap, it looks tacky, especially in the world that I'm in. It's a very male-dominated world. There are so many events that I could have gone to where I was thinking, oh, I should wear this dress, which is really nice, but it had a bit of cleavage to it. And I thought, no, 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 can't do that because it gives the wrong impression. You only get one first impression. And if that first impression is like, oh, looks like she's trying to, men are just simple characters, right? They see cleavage and they only think one thing. She's trying to be, she's trying to use her assets in a certain way. And I'm trying to keep the language like clean. But ultimately, yeah, you don't want to look like you're slutting your way around the room because that doesn't look like you're a powerful person. You want to lead with your charisma, your intelligence, and your looks come afterwards. Your looks are naturally going to be powerful and make an impact, which is also the point of good makeup and look after your visual and your hair. Like I always make sure my hair is washed and blow dried before I go in. Because you do want to, this is messy, just so you know. But of course, you're allowed to be whatever. You don't have to be like super sprayed on hair. Like that's a bit weird. But my point is look presentable, look really sharp. And it's very bad if you look cheap. You don't want to look cheap. You want to look elegant, powerful, and have that charisma that shines through. So you get one first impression. I cannot emphasize that enough. So when they see you, they've already made a judgment about you before they've even met you, right? So when you shake their hand, that is if you get that point, but they may avoid you if you look a certain way. If you look like men will avoid women who've got big cleavages out because they all think, oh no, she's an escort. Because in high net worth environments, men are used to having a lot of escorts being gold diggers, and they absolutely hate them. So in a business environment, if they see someone who looks like a gold digger or who looks like an escort, they will avoid you like the plague. So if you're a female and you're trying to make an impact as a business person, the last thing you want to do is resemble anything that looks like an escort. And if you don't know what escorts look like, gosh, go visit Monaco on a normal evening, go to some of these evening restaurants and bars. Anyone European speaking, well, Eastern European speaking tends to kind of give away a lot of that image. The overly done like and cleavage out here and very okay, let's just cut to the chase. The Russian speaking women are the ones that will give you what an escort looks like. You don't want to look anything like that. The way they dress, the bags and everything, they just look very they look they've got their intention straight and you will not be taken seriously if you look like that. So women, please stay polished. Men, gosh, you need to look very polished. I've seen every billionaire event I've gone to, men actually take pride in their appearance too. They try and wear a very sophisticated suit. They wear ties. Some of them don't wear ties, but they look very polished. They have really smart shoes. So men do make an impact here too. I've got friends who are worth hundreds of millions that I go to these events with sometimes, and they also make such an impact on how they dress. So it's very, very powerful for both male and women. I'm usually one of the few women that turn up to these events because I honestly believe that men still run the world, and that's, it's fine. But there are very many nice men, and there's some that are not so encouraging of women. So if you are the underdog, if you are a female, you're an underdog in a billionaires event. And if you're, yeah, if you're any other type of underdog, you have to really show you stand out. So by standing out and so this comes back to clothing. I have to make a big impact about this. Like, don't wear too many bright colors. Unless it's a bit of depending on the event. So if it's an investment event, you don't want to look like you're wearing super colorful branded clothing. That won't work. You want to look sophisticated. You want to look like you're powerful. You want to look like you are not trying too hard. That's what the over the top branding looks like. It's okay for social media. Social media is different animal, right? You can wear what you like for social media. But when it comes to these events, you want to look powerful, but your charisma and maybe have a pop of color somewhere. If you really want to stand out, have something about you. I love seeing a guy that walks into a room, but they've got something about them that I will never forget. They may have this outrageous colored handkerchief in their jacket, or they might have this, something about them that just gives them the glint of like, oh, he's got some character about him. He's got a bit of charisma that speaks before he even opens his mouth. But usually, it's all about the outward appearance. It makes an impact. Okay, so hopefully that bit has made sense now. That's number three. Number four, when you speak to these individuals, the worst thing you can do is pitch and kind of look like you're trying to get something from them. That is the worst thing you can do. So when you do meet someone, ideally get an introduction. Don't go cold to someone. Just say, oh, unless they're like a celebrity or a big name, have a reason to go to them and don't say, oh, God, I'd like to get a selfie, just say, yeah, I mean, sometimes if you know they want to just be famous, then yeah, selfie's cool. But usually you want to get an introduction if you're with someone, and this is where your network comes in really useful. Getting someone to introduce you to someone else is the most powerful way to get any kind of respect. If you just go up to someone and say, "Hey, my name is Hither, and I'm doing this, and I'd like to get to learn more about what you do," they'll be like, "Who are you? What's your positioning?" Like you've in immediately made yourself look like that, and they're here. You want to come from a position of power, which is someone else brings you to them and say, "Oh, I'd love you to meet Hither because she is doing this, and I think you'll have a lot of synergy." So I did this in Monaco many times, right? So I've got such a powerful network that every time I want to speak to someone, I give my friend a nudge and say, "Hey, do you know this person? Do you know what they do? Oh, I've heard this person's from so and so fund or so and so they own this club. Do you know who they are? And do you know who they are personally? Who should I speak to get an introduction to them?" A banker is really good, so someone who owns a football club in the UK, the owner of them is sitting a table away. Instead of me going over and saying, "Hey, I invest in football clubs, I'd like to speak to you," you want to get their banker to make the introduction, say, "Hey, so Hither is investing in some Formula Premier League football clubs. She would like to speak to you about your club and whether you want to sell it." And notice again, you come from a position of power. If you just run up to them in an event and try and get an introduction yourself, you're coming from a position of weakness because you're kind of running to them, right? So you want to come from a referral and from a position of power. And what's even better is that you never ask them for money on the first interaction. You never do that. In fact, I never asked anyone for money for 5 years when I was in Monaco. And I still don't. The way I do it is that I say, "Look, I'm doing something. This is a really interesting venture. I would like your feedback. What do you think? I'd like to know what your thoughts are. I'd like to get your expertise on it." And usually at that point, they want in. They'll be like, "That sounds really cool. How have you?" Then they'll quiz you on it because without the best thing you can do is not make them feel uncomfortable. Because if you meet someone for the first time and then instantly their guard is up thinking, they're going to try and take money off me, they're going to hate that. You may sometimes even want to lead with the statement, "Love what you're doing," and halfway through the conversation say, "Look, I don't need any capital. However, I do want to just get some ideas from people who are, doing this already, and I want to get your feedback on my investments. And do you think this is a good idea, what I'm doing?" If you make yourself look again shoulder to shoulder with them, even though they might be worth like 30 billion or whatever, you could still say, "Look, you obviously bought a few football clubs, you've bought a few Formula One teams, you've bought a few whatever. So would you say this is a good investment idea? Like, would you change anything if you were going to buy this?" And they love that when you're not asking for money, but you're just asking for their help or advice. And it can be just quite interesting. And sometimes they'll say, "Come and see me after this event," or I mean, in the week, and see them for a follow-up meeting. And that's usually how it works in these billionaire networks. It's very powerful. Come from a position of power. Get that introduction. Don't pitch. Make a genuine rapport. And sometimes just keep your mouth shut and listen to some. One thing I've learned about billionaires is they love the sound of their own voice, some of them. And they're all very power hungry, right? They don't want to feel like someone's taking their power away. So if you want to feed their ego, the best way you can do that is let them talk. Because when someone's talking, they're feeling good about themselves. When they're not talking, be worried. Okay, so you want to be able to conversate with them and make sure that you always allow them to have a conversation. You've got to be such a great human behavioral psychologist to understand what's going on in front of you. But the best is such a close network. Like billionaires only feel comfortable when they've had someone from their fellow billionaire network introduce them to someone. Why do you think I've built up such an incredible network? And I don't just give it out to people. And the way they respect me is that they know that I would never introduce them to someone who's not vetted by me, who I don't think is a worthy. Like your introductions in the future have to be high quality, which is what I do in the Billionaire Project. If somebody wants my network, you genuinely have to be some sort of entrepreneurial, like I can teach you everything that I do, private equity, investment banking. I've had my training at Harvard, LSE, Oxford, and ultimately everything I do, I will teach you. And one day, if you are raising a fund or if you've got some deal flow, it's all about the deal flow. If you've got some amazing tech companies, sports ventures, whatever are coming through in your network and you want funding for that, I will vet the deals, I will check it, I'll see if it's really attractive, I will get involved with you, which means then I open up my network. And that's when it becomes a really powerful, you get the same positioning that I will come from here to introduce you to whatever billionaire or their family office or like their main investment manager, whatever we need. And that's how I work with you. So this is still powerful for you to conduct yourself in that way. Don't just be that cringy person that runs around trying to be everyone's friend. And so while we're on this topic, I know this is going on a bit, but you don't need to speak to every single person in these events. So if you go to a networking event and you're thinking, oh my God, I only spoke to 4 people and there was like 50. Oh my God, I've wasted my time. You have not. You really have not. The only people that you really need to keep at the top of your agenda is one, the person who organized the event, because they're the ones who know everyone. Number two, the people you came with, the person you came with, which should ideally be like a business friend or something like that. We'll talk about whether you bring your partner or not in the next topic, in the next section. And then the few people you speak to, any referrals you get or whatever, eye contact is everything. If you're speaking to someone and at the same time you're getting distracted by, imagine I'm speaking to you and I'm like, oh, hi. Oh, yeah. And I just keep looking at somebody else walking around. Oh my God. Because you're like, oh my God, Conor McGregor just walked past. Oh my God, I need to have a chat with him. You don't want to get distracted because one way I would judge you straight away is if you're speaking to me and I can see that you are instantly distracted by the next flashy thing. Oh my God, I can tell in your head you're thinking, oh my God, that person's more important than this one I'm speaking to. That is what will happen when you do that. Even though you might not, you might just be curious to see who's around or someone might be getting your attention. Laser focus, almost like having blinkers on, as if you're like, a horse with the blinkers. That's what you've got to be like when you speak to someone. You need to make them feel valued. If they see that you flutter your eyes at other things and other people when they walk past, they'll be like, this person's not serious. They just like the attention. They just like the next big thing or the next shiny object. They're only speaking to me because of what they can get out of me. And that becomes so transactional, so unattractive. You will never hear from them again, guaranteed. I'm going to tell you now that a lot of billionaires do that because they're older men that are used to just seeing shiny things thrown at them. They've got bad behavior, but don't let that be your excuse. The new generation of money that's coming through, respect is everything. I think that genuinely without that, you're not going anywhere. And especially if you're an underdog, you need to really show a lot of respect for people and hold your ground. Okay, so next, let me just grab a bit of water. I'm speaking too much. One moment. Do you like my heart-shaped glass? Anyway, partner or no partner? Do we bring a partner? Now, this is a good one. Right. If you're dating someone, definitely no. So if you're not in a proper relationship, hell no, would you ever bring that person to a high-level networking event? I would even question whether you bring them to a gala event because it is a statement in its own right. The person that you choose to bring as your plus one, if it's a business friend, like I've taken lots of business friends to events as plus ones because they're just business people. There is no involvement with them in any other way other than, hey, he's my business friend and we run business deals together or we just ask each other opinions on business. That's fine because the conversation's going to be relevant and it should be about your industry. Don't have your friend that is not in the industry come to, if you're an investor, my world is finance, investments, private equity, public equity, whatever. I'm not going to bring an artist friend with me because unless they are very high caliber and know how to add value, I'm not going to bring a friend, let alone dates. So dates, no. Relationships, we'll talk about that in a second. But if you're going to bring a plus one as a genuine friend or a business partner, make them relevant to your business. And if you are going to bring in someone from outside of your business, make it a really clean reason why. Because when you're talking, imagine you're speaking to the most important person that you wanted to speak to in that room. They're going to see who you're with. That's instantly a reflection of your choices because good, bad, or ugly, the person next to you is going to show them how you make choices in your life. Oh, I've picked this person to represent me at the event, or like my other half, or my other plus one. I've picked someone who I feel is suitable for this event. That's what you're saying without saying it. So you've got to be so clear. Bring nobody, safer. Or if you're going to bring someone, and if you're in a long-term relationship, if you've got a husband or a wife or a long-term partner, then you must make it clear to that person you might be spoken to, and you have to not look, when you can tell when someone's dragged their wife or their husband there because they're just like looking at the watch when the worst thing is if they're imagine someone standing next to you and you're getting introduced to some really high level business person and they're too busy looking at their phone or some sort of immature thing on YouTube and they look like they're ruining they're ruining the vibe. They're dampening the effect that you have. Your power is diminished if you bring in a very low end partner. So if your partner can't add any intellectual conversation or add any intellectual value to the dynamic, leave them at home or just tell them, look, we'll go out for dinner later. I used to do this a lot when I was in my long-term relationship. I knew they were not capable of having, and they weren't interested in having private equity conversations. And I had no guilt and they had no issue not being there because they didn't want to. They used to say, look, I don't want to be part of that world. I don't enjoy it. And that's absolutely fine. People will ask you, where's your partner? I say, oh yeah, this is not his world. And this is, I'll see him later. He's a very nice guy. He does this, but this is not his world. He's not someone who interacts in this arena very well. He doesn't need to, Very few people ask that. And many people, and which is why many billionaires tend to arrive, and I've only ever seen this, especially in Monaco, they don't bring their partners. Hardly any of them bring their wives. And I don't even ask. Nobody asks, where is your wife today? Like nobody expects their partners to come in because it's a very business focused event. So it's completely not a problem. But the problem is if you bring someone with you that doesn't fit the part or doesn't look the part or actually dampens your appearance. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So I wanted to keep it short, sharp, to the point. And the last thing I want to leave with this video is body language. Your body language really does matter when you are speaking to someone. What people don't realize is that people are watching you when you might be talking to someone else, but somebody else is watching you converse with that individual. So your body language matters at all times. So you really got to think about, and this is why I always tell my clients that I work with, like entrepreneurs, my peak performance coaching or my business coaching, look into the mirror and have a look at how you talk in the mirror. If you want to be a better public speaker, if you want to be a better closer, if you want to pitch better, even though we're not pitching in this networking event, of course, but you just want to see how you conduct yourself. Even if you are on a Zoom meeting, Zoom, you can record and you can watch yourself back and you can see how did I look and how did I come across. And that's so powerful, the feedback. I want you guys to critique yourself because we all know when we look powerful versus when we look weak. And so that's where the way you conduct yourself, your hand movements, whether you're slouching, whether you're like this, you don't want to look slouchy and sloppy. You need to always look powerful but friendly, approachable, or whatever, so your hair, if I'm constantly having to touch my face every 2 seconds, it can be annoying. Therefore, I may have to just like pin my hair back if it's a problem, which I don't. What I've been doing on this video, for example, is absolutely fine. So all of these things matter. Body language does matter, and you need to be able to make sure you don't come across in a way that's ineffective. Then, of course, your tonality and everything else. What you say isn't as important as how you say it. So that's why I wanted you to look in the mirror if you are practicing that. Anyway, I hope these tips help you. I would love you guys to use all of these tips in your free networking events. And then, a little tip for you is how do you get to these high net worth events? Well, pay for them if you can. I mean, I've had invite only. I've got to a point where my network is so amazing, but it has been 20 years. It's not something that's happened overnight that I get invited to things. I'm friends with governments in Monaco. I have got political friends in the UK as well, but I don't lobby and I'm not into politics. I hate it. I've been invited in the past to be part of the Conservative Party many years ago, and I said no because I walked into that place and I could just see it was just like a power, it was just like a aristocrat power play dream, that's all they live for. And I didn't really feel like I would, maybe when I'm older, I don't know, but I'm just not into it. I'm really not into politics. I don't feel like it ever helps. Look at the state of the world right now. That's a different conversation. But my point is, my whole network is so powerful. I get invited to places I don't pay for anything. However, if I were you, the way to get into those environments, if there was ever a ticketed event, so once there was a gala that came up, charity galas, they usually do charge tickets, even though I secretly never pay for any because I'm invited to them. But I then also bid in auctions, so I put money in other ways. However, there's nothing wrong in paying for a gala event. So charity galas, Billionaires host charity galas. And I would, if I were you and you want to get into these networks, you want to pay for these tickets and they can go into the thousands. They can be quite expensive. And I agree that is like a bit of an investment, but be very clear if you want to open doors to bigger and higher net worth and more powerful people, you may have to pay for a few of these initially to get in there. Make very solid few connections. With the few connections, they will open doors to the other people that are relevant. So don't try and I'll give you one last example of a really bad networking example that somebody did when I was in Monaco recently, and people from the UK bought tickets for this charity gala, and they were trying to make the most of their money they invested in their tickets. The tickets are a few thousand each. And I was there, and people recognize me, some of them, which is lovely. I don't pay for these charity galas, like I said, because I get invited and I absolutely love them. And I encourage people to pay because I invest into the charity in different ways. But my point is, there were some people that were evidently new. They looked like they were very new to this whole scenario. And the worst thing they were doing was going around the tables and saying, "Hi, my name is this. I'd love to meet you. Oh, hi." And really like, there's, "Oh, hi." And those very tacky fake smiles. "You look amazing. I would love to get to know you. Can I have your WhatsApp? Or can I have your..." And you don't do that, straight away. Like that person for me instantly gave out the energy of I've only done free events and I've only done low end networking. And she didn't look like she belonged there. Sophisticated networking is doing all the things I've said. And I haven't talked about how do you get their contact details and what do you do next. Look, in the networking events I go to, everybody is open to giving their WhatsApp details out because I say, "Oh, I'd love to keep in connect, I'd love to connect. How do you work?" I said, "I only use WhatsApp because I don't look at email and my social media is managed by my team." And that's the truth. I don't have email on my phone for sanity reasons. I just don't use it. I use WhatsApp, and I use direct messaging apps on my phone. So that's how I connect to people. And most of the time, the network, if you're really powerful and you don't come across cringy and you've done all the things I've said, you will get their direct access WhatsApp. That's fine. That's normal. However, if you're not that person, then just say a business card is not effective. So I wouldn't just throw your business card out because there is no guarantee you're going to get anything back because I choose to ignore business cards I don't want to connect with because you've got nothing on me. So the way I would, if I were in that position and you were, if you want to get someone's details, but you just give them a business card, just say, "Look, what is the best way to contact you?" And be respectful. They probably don't want to give you their WhatsApp. So if you're not at that level where you've had an introduction to someone and you're just going cold everywhere, then then the best thing you can do is just connect to their LinkedIn because that's a powerful place. LinkedIn, Instagram, and that's it. And just say, I sent you a message. If you don't mind, just acknowledging that, or something like that. But I haven't had to do that because I find it very cringy. I don't ask people to acknowledge me. They will choose whether they want to speak to you or not. And every single time they have always said, yes, we'd love to keep in contact. Let's do this. So I hope this makes sense. I know I might have gone on a bit of a ramble, but look, the summary is number one, you check your energy levels, maintain your peak energy when you go into these events. So manage your day so that when you turn up to these events, you're at your peak energy. You have had enough sleep. You've made sure your time is not filled up with lots of excessive activities beforehand. Work out, good for you. Eat well, good for you. Number two, prepare how you get there. Get everything, give yourself enough time for a bit of rest before you go in. Even things such as what bags you take if you're a female. Men don't have the handbag issue, right? So they've always got their hands free. Their phone is in their pocket or their jacket. Um, and they've always got the other hand with the champagne. I tend not to even hold glasses because I think it's such a faff because I've got my phone out, my handbag's on my arm or whatever. And that's it. I don't carry anything else and I don't want to eat things because it just unless you can I think the whole eating things before you're talking to someone, especially if it's a noisy place, the biggest way you could turn somebody off is bad breath. Like I'm serious. Like I can't stand someone. The only thing I can remember is, oh my God, they didn't have any personal hygiene if they're talking to me and they're reeking of onions and garlic, like don't eat. Don't eat. In fact, when the preparation comes in that stage, eat something beforehand so you don't have to eat the canapes that are going around. Because if you start doing that and then you have to talk to someone really close, you get one first impression. And if that first impression is they smell of garlic and onions and they were just like, they smell bad. A lot of people say, "Oh, you smell great," perfume or whatever. Like, make sure make sure you do all of these things. Like, it does make a difference. The next thing was what to wear. Make sure you're not wearing something too flashy. Have a bit of character. Have something about you that makes some people think, "Wow," but it's subtle character, not like too loud, trying too hard. There is like a subtlety about it. It's very important. When the more high net worth your ring of circle goes, or your ring of people, does that make sense? Circle of your network of people, the higher that is, the more powerful your dress sense gets powerful, but you'll be surprised, even more subtle. It's interesting. It's really interesting. I dress different in London versus Monaco, very different. Um, and then don't pitch, obvious reasons why. Bring a partner that is reflective of your choices. Be proud. I mean, they're going to judge you on who you bring. So make sure it's a good +1 or don't come with anyone. It's sometimes easier and you make a better impact that way. But there's nothing wrong coming with a +1 friend, the business friend, if they're relevant. And then body language. People are always watching, whether you like it or not. Your eye contact's got to be focused, laser focused on them. Don't look like you're easily distracted. It's a massive turn off. They'll see that you're not genuine. They'll see you're not serious. And just remember, people are watching you whether you know it or not. So how you come across is really important there. That's it. I hope this was made useful for you. Use it straight away. Use it for your free events and see how it kind of transcends to higher level networking events. Don't be afraid of paying to be around these people where you can. I personally, at the Billionaire Project, do open up my network where relevant. So if you want to joint venture with me and any of my network, you have to be part of the Billionaire Project. The best way for you to do that is click on the link that says capital raising around this, because that's where I can sort of handpick who I work with, but even then there is some coaching involved first. I don't just introduce people just because you are a business person. You have to understand the language of private equity, and I need to go through I have to coach you a little bit first. It's the only way it works. It's the only way I would ever, because my reputation's at risk if I made a bad intro. I nearly did that once, gosh, and it was not worth it, trust me. So I kind of took too much I gave the person too much credit, and I thought they would be of high caliber, and they were not. And this is why it only pays if you're in the Billionaire Project, had some formalized training, and then I would 100% make that introduction for free, you know, so it's very powerful. So click on the links below. Hope it helps. And any other comments, suggestions, just let me know what you want to learn. I am conserving my energy level, so this is going to be the last YouTube video I've recorded today, and that's me done. It takes energy for me to do this, so that's why I haven't done as many, and I promise I'll do as much as I can, but I'm thinking of things that really help you with your journey. So thanks guys for listening. I really appreciate you, and I will do another more personal vlog, which I know you guys love, in the future videos. So if you want to learn about more stuff that I'm doing in my how I'm navigating things, I might do another video just for that soon. Okay, speak soon. Bye.